Hello and welcome to Infamous MCP, the audio podcast. This is Brandon, or Mutilus on Discord.
This is Parker, go by One Who Parks on Discord.
This is CJ. I apparently go by Nitrozeus at the moment.
This is Zach, go by Just Jeremy on Discord.
Nice. Very nice. As always, links in the show notes. Alright, let's go ahead and start with... We had a tournament this last weekend. CJ, did you play Spider Foes at the tournament?
I did.
Oh, okay. How did that go?
It actually went pretty well.
Is that what you would call it? Pretty
well, I beat Aaron, which was the second time in my life that I've done so. And
Very
I assume
nice.
He's going to go on a revenge tour now. So I just won't play him again.
That's a good call. As we were saying at the table next to you, he's like an old, decrepit crocodile with all his teeth taken out. Like, he hasn't played a game in 8 months, so like he's very rusty.
There's a couple things I that was just like, if it would have been a well-tuned fighting machine, I would have stood no chance.
Mm-hmm.
But I got...
And not like Dormammu shit.
Yeah, just like Dormammu's there. He's like, what happens? He didn't kill Rocket on turn 1 with an attack, so...
Yeah.
Stuff that normally shouldn't happen.
Parker, my personal favorite was we were in like the second to last round of the tournament, like of games that Aaron played. So like he had one turn after this in the whole tournament, and I was like, "Why weren't you counting your skulls with Dormammu's attack?" He goes, "No, he only counts enemy skulls." I'm like, "Are you sure?" And he reads the card. And he goes, "Oh, oops." I was like, "Good thing you played Dormammu, you fucking crazy person."
That's Aaron, though.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, Asgard has a leadership.
He did,
famously.
He did remember to do his leadership because it days 3 of his characters.
Oh, good.
Yay! At least he remembered his leadership.
Yep.
Days 3 of his characters.
Days 3 of his own characters in the power phase. I think it actually KO'd one of his characters.
I know
I think Clea
specifically
died
it was because Clea took an extra
Yeah.
damage when I Goblin Rammed her. She died.
Hell yeah.
So, Green Goblin. It went well. Beat Aaron round 1, beat Josh round 2, and remained because Aaron took it out on his own son in round 2. That was the pair down. So I remained undefeated for the tournament, and in 2 rounds I swept it, which is pretty good.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, brought some.
Get out while you're
Yeah,
ahead.
I'm done now. That's a lot. I got pretty close once. Parker beat me one time in the finals. Another time, and that was the next closest time I've ever been to taking a tournament. So
Nice. Well, congrats.
yeah, it was fun. I did bring Spider Foes, just with Green Goblin. No Doc Ock. I don't know if that's been popular or not. I went for the base Trap House list, so I brought Rocket and Winter Soldier as my splashes, and Electro.
Very nice.
It was fun. I had a good time.
I had a tour de force of strategy and tactics I unleashed on Jeremy like a war crime. I would like to explain to everyone real quick. So I got to play Jeremy in the first MCP tournament Jeremy's played in probably 6 months. Like, it's been a long time since Jeremy's shown up to an MCP event or even MCP game night. Like, he's sworn off the game for a brief period to try and refresh and come back stronger. So he comes back for his second game back. He's playing leaderless Cabal because he ended up going like 6 wide at like 18 or something. And so he's running around with all those guys. He's got Zemo. He's got the whole crew together. And so I'm playing Horseman, and it's turn 2. And I decide that I want my Deadpool to take the center pay to flip on Meteors. So I advance forward. And because I'm going to place onto the point anyway, I was like, well, I might as well take a shot. So I look at his Bullseye, who has an extract token, and just head cap him. 1 shot, bang, kills him, 1 shot. I trigger bang, don't even get to use, he's already dead. So I was like, alright. So then I use Famine to place on top of the extract token that Bullseye drops, thus removing 1 power from Zemo, so he can't charge me. He's going to have to play I Am a Baron just to charge me, and he'll be at 0 power after that, because he picked up an extract token himself. And so I then pick up the extract token and then use his leg day to place backwards, and strategically, perfectly killing him in 1 attack. Then Jeremy activates his hood and double taps me with Mystic Rapid Fire Pistols. Does 0 damage because I'm masterfully tactical. Then Zemo plays I'm a Baron and charges Deadpool. Deadpool had already had 2 damage on him from like previous attacks before he stuff. and Zemo goes in, and on his 2 attacks with Zemo does also 0 damage. At this point, Jeremy's very excited. So then he shoots Shuri at Deadpool. Also 0 damage on 2 attacks. At which point, clearly my strategy is just to feed at Jeremy. And so basically, my Deadpool killed his bullseye off the table and dazed his Zemo and dazed his Hood and fought Shuri and was at full health at the end of the game.
Oh,
and so it's just with proper strategy, you can really overcome any obstacles. Is the point I'm trying to make here.
I'm so glad Jeremy got to play MCP again.
I know.
We'll see Jeremy in 6 more months.
What's the opposite of pure happiness? That's what Jeremy was. He was very upset.
Just misery.
I was actually going to play the first one? The Activate Apocalypse again, because I was standing next to Toad, who had a Worthy Hammer, and Apocalypse had a Worthy Hammer. And I was thinking to myself, if I play this card, Toad has to drop his Worthy Hammer because he's dead. And then I'll just pick it up with Apocalypse, who now has another activation. I was like, this seems amazing. And but Jeremy was so upset I decided to do it.
The icing.
Yeah. But anyway, that was my tournament. It's okay, though, because Josh did basically the same thing to me in round 1. So, it was very
He play criminals at you, or did he play Asgard at you?
He played Asgard?
That might sound correct.
What did he play?
He's
I can't even remember, because it was so irrelevant. Go ahead.
This has been a discussion in the house. I keep telling him, I was like, man, I don't know why you keep bringing Asgard when you're a criminals player now. And he's like, no, I play Asgard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, well, you're splashing Kingpin and Daredevil for like 4 out of your 6 crises, so that sounds like...
Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure he played Asgard, because he used Odin's Blessing. The game is actually going really well against Josh for the first 2 rounds, and then basically round 3 on, the lowest blocks he rolled was 3. And I'm not exaggerating, we actually made sure everything he blocked was 3. His Sif was sitting on 1 hit point, holding an extract on a side point. And so Apocalypse uses Famine to place forward, and double taps her, dealing 0 damage. With his 7 dice, re-rolling 3 on one of them, because I spent all my Evo tokens trying to get the extract from her. Ran out of Evo tokens, then just attacked again, still did 0. Top of next turn, shot her again, spending 3 Evo tokens, still no damage. I had to shoot her 4 times with Apocalypse to do 1 point of damage. And that was the end of game 1. I ended up scooping on turn 4, because he had just melted my entire list without me doing any damage.
Yeah.
Did you use celestial technology, though? That's the only thing that matters.
I did not, and I actually commented after the game. I was just too mad to do it. It actually would have been pretty cool to use it in the moment. It actually would have been useful, but I didn't. I should have. I was just too mad.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It was actually, I think, that round 2 when you played Jeremy, I was just the table over, and I heard you being like, okay, Jeremy, we're going to talk about how Apocalypse works. And I think you gave him probably the best. I
tried to be very obvious.
The best like breakdown for in like layman's terms how stuff happens, which was really cool to hear. Because
we actually, despite how mad he was, I tried to get him to start talking logically about stuff. So we kind of talked about him a little bit afterwards. I actually don't mind Apocalypse as a design feature, because he was approaching it with the perspective of, I've never played Apocalypse before. I don't know what his shit does. There's no way I can win this game. I was like, that's not actually how it works, because none of the rules really directly affect the way you play the game.
No.
It's like the only one that really affects you is Pestilence.
And even then...
And
yeah.
Even then, it's like, who cares if you didn't know I could give you Root? Who cares, right? Like, what are the odds it really affects your decision-making process? Like, obviously, you need to know that, war and death can kill people better, but beyond that, it doesn't really affect, like, it's Wolverine. He can still fucking Yahtzee you. It doesn't matter, like, that he has the war card. And so, unlike Convocation, where, your guy places out a way, he has rerolls against us, he changes my damage types, like, you need to know how all that shit works, or you're gonna lose. But against Apocalypse, it really doesn't matter. The only thing you really need to know is how to kill Apocalypse, which is like, do non-attack damage to him, or hit him with really strong attacks as opposed to lots of little attacks, like stuff like that. Like, but that has nothing to do with the Horseman affiliation. That's just one model. And so I actually kind of like that and I felt the same way in the first game I played against Apocalypse in a tournament, which was, it's a lot to take in, and you kind of just have to hand wave it off because it's too much. And then once you start playing, it really doesn't matter. It's like, you get tokens that I don't interact with. Who cares? Like, you do your thing, I'll do my thing, I still need to win.
Yeah, Apocalypse is definitely like, you bring it when you know how to run it, and the real issue is you knowing all the ins and outs. Your opponent doesn't really get to interact with it, all the shit you're doing, but it's shit that you have to do yourself. It kind of affects how you play. Your opponent, if you just like covered up what you were doing with Apocalypse's stuff, it looks like a normal faction to anyone else, kind of, right? What's my leadership do? Oh, I get rerolls on some things, and then I get a little bit of dice modding stuff. Like, it's not like...
You're just turbo boosting 4 models and hoping it's enough.
Basically,
right? You're just giving them a little bit extra,
Yeah, it's there's the glue of the Horseman cards, but it's honestly just like, if you think about it, it's just a 6-threat sharing what other broken-ass 6 threats can kind of do once per turn.
Yeah, because as a 6-point splash model, I really don't think he's worth it. Like, without the whole kit, he's not a 6-point model.
Like,
he's fine, but like, if he's just walking and shooting once a turn, he's not even Juggernaut. Like, no, he's just okay.
It's a fine attack. His spender's only good under like his affiliation, and then maybe you could make an argument for Strucker or like something else. But yeah, he's definitely like completely got to be at servants. I don't think he gets to break out very often to do anything else. But yeah,
because when you look at stuff like Giant's Blood or Spider Tracker, things like that will dramatically impact a game if you don't understand how they work, and you just face check the mechanic the first time. It's like, oh, I lose. I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know you could do that. Pretty big deal. And just like Loki's kit, Loki 2's kit is way more important that you understand it than anything in the Horseman list, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, because if you like don't have any clue what's about to happen to you with that Loki stuff, when you're like, okay, so I'll attack this model, my guy's like, in range 3, his Loki's all the way back there. Well, Loki being back there is bad still, because Loki can affect what's going on in that interaction still. And then like...
Or just simply knowing, it's like, so if I just targeted this guy instead, none of that shit
exactly.
happens. Or like, knowing like, when you face check it like mid-activation, you're like, oh, well, I only have 1 hit point. I was planning on getting patched up. It's like, well, clearly if you had known, you would have patched up first. This isn't a problem. And sometimes people will let you take that stuff back. But a lot of times in tournaments, you don't get to. Because you did it. Or, maybe you haven't moved into position to patch up yet, and you would have. Like, there's so many different things. That's, you just get raked, and you're like, oh, fuck.
Oh. Yeah, but with Apocalypse...
Speaking of rakes...
Sorry, man. Apocalypse, you like it for me. Whenever I've played it, it just feels like for me, it's a mental attacks against myself. Like I'm just like, oh yeah, I forgot I could do that. Bullshit. I never had. Usually with the opponent, it's like, oh, what's this guy do? He teleports now. Okay, cool, whatever.
We were talking briefly about your sinister traps.
Yeah. I believe it's one of the hardest tactic cards to use correctly, just because. I usually bring it with Spider Foes because I think it's on theme, one of the coolest cards in the game. But the practicality of me just not knowing how to use it made it to where I don't want to bring it anymore, and I still feel like it's good, and it'd be really good if I knew how to use it correctly.
I think part of it is you were playing in a pool of people where me and Aaron have probably put more thought into Sinister Traps than any other 2 people in our area. Yeah. Because, there was a time period when we were trying to use it to break the meta and not like take over the meta, but like to stop what people were doing. Because this was in the era of the X-Men 4-1 turns. Yeah. We were trying to use it to break up that combo and make it more even. And so we were trying to use an off-meta thing to break a popular meta thing. And we got to the point where we were... Because the issue is always, like, let's say there's an even number of extracts. Like, well, if I trap a middle on an even number... and my opponent has prio, they just get 2 and I get 1, and it's terrible. And so you have to find a way around that. And what I came up with is, well, you're already playing, like this pile of criminal-ish models, just play Shadowlands Daredevil and use the grunts to trigger the trap, and Shadowlands Daredevil picks up the point. And so that gets around it because it's the same activation. So you activate the grunts, they double move and suicide into your own Sinister Trap on like the last activation, clearing it, and then Shadowlands just goes and picks it up. And now you've evened it up.
Like if the opponent doesn't pick it up, right? Like if he doesn't take the en passant.
No, they don't get you because you activate the grunts and the character at the same time, and so there's no window where the trap's not there.
Right.
And if they trigger the trap, then yeah, you just go pick
I
it
see
up.
what you're saying. You lock one down, kind of.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And so you base, because normally the problem is like then your opponent always has the option of just saying, "Fine, I won't pick it up either," and then you just play the game and extract down.
Yeah.
And sometimes that's bad for you depending on the priority versus whatever order. Like if it's an odd number, it's actually bad if you have prio because you'll pick one up, your opponent will pick one up, and then there will be the third one that's trapped. And now what do you do? Because like, are they going to pick it up? Obviously not, because then you just get it, and vice versa. So if you have a grunt character, you can bypass that. Mm-hmm. And so you can do it with Sandman now. Sandman can do it also.
Another character that can do it is if you, because you roll dice. If you roll any damage, you get pushed, right? If you don't,
it's damage rolled and push,
right?
Yes.
But you don't get pushed unless you take damage. Is that correct?
Correct. Push on damage.
So
correct.
One character that can do it is Deadpool. If you roll 2 damage on him, he can get pushed. So you move Deadpool directly
correct.
on top.
You would get enough
extract.
power to push back.
He will push you. Sorry, you'll trigger it. If you take 2 damage, Deadpool will get pushed, and then you just use his leg day to walk right back on top of it and pick it up.
Correct, but that's enemy Deadpools.
Your own Deadpool could do it too, if you want.
No, you don't get power from it.
He doesn't get power for friendly damage.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, enemy Deadpools can fuck with you. Yeah, that's right.
There's a few characters that can do it innately, and it's number of damage dependent. Because obviously, like Juggernaut and or Rhino can do it because they can slide. But also Deadpool can do it if he's an enemy, and Mordo can do it if he's enemy as well. Because if he gets pushed, he can spend 2 to reactionary advance, which is pretty cool. And he has 6 hit points on the front, so he cannot be one shot by the trap.
Yeah.
You also have Colossus who can't be pushed at all, and DR's one, so like he doesn't mind quite as much just going and tanking a first hit.
So is that the?
Hold on, I don't think that's correct.
Colossus?
He cannot be pushed
By enemy effects, just as open-ended.
Enemy effects has to be an
enemy.
Colossus.
Enemy Colossus.
Can't be a
Yeah,
friendly.
yeah.
Correct.
But is that the tippy top of what Sinister Traps is just kind of like a weird edge case card?
It's understanding what's available. But yeah, the whole planning period is you need to understand the priority versus optional targets. And the other thing you can do is always just put it on their back extract. It's like, oh, we're playing hammers and you have prio and I don't want to trap the hammer that I'm going to end up trying to pick up. I'll just trap your back hammer. And then what happens is their whole deployment ends up being fucked up because anyone they put in the middle is now subject to the fucking trap. And if like Wong walks forward and randomly gets one-shotted, the game is very different.
Right. That is true. I guess it would help if I played somebody who thought like that because I did it against Josh. And he was just like, I don't care about this. Bullseye can walk up and get one-shotted. That's fine with me. Because his calculus for how the game goes doesn't work quite the same.
Yeah. Yeah, he's just shrug it off and move forward.
Some of you
like,
the next time...
What?
Zach, what'd you say?
Oh, I was just like, some of you may die, but that is a sacrifice I am willing to make.
Yeah, this sign can't stop me. I can't read. Yeah, so that was that. And then the other thing was like with Sinister Traps I feel like it's taken up a slot that I think might still be used for better cards still, even in Spider Foes.
Ooh. Say, when I play Spider Foes, it's the first card I pick, unless I'm playing a very specific
list.
That's
how I thought, too, for a long time, because I really like the card. But at the same time, in the game against Josh, it didn't really do anything. But at the same time, I picked that new card they have. It's their version of Mission Objective.
Oh, I don't like that card.
Oh, I like that card quite a bit.
Really? What's it called again?
Strategic Retreat.
Because when you're targeted, you move and pass it even before
you
your
have
days.
To pass it, and then you get to move S.
Mm-hmm. Costs 4 before damage, though. Yeah. That's a lot.
It is expensive, but at the same time, depending on your Spider Foes like loadout, like 4 power on Rhino is easy peasy, right? 4 power under Doc Ock, super easy to get to. Just in general. So there's definitely, and that's usually what I do, is I've had Rhino grab an extract, and then I'll threaten and be like, yeah, you could come take it from Rhino, but like, I'm just going to pass it off to like Electro or somebody. Or you could even pass it off to Mysterio, so if they try to chase further, because it's just the character holding the extract that has to pay for it. I could pass it off to Mysterio, and then you move on to Mysterio, you can tricks and traps away.
It's the character that's being attacked.
Yes. Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I don't know, I still don't see it. I will admit that holding on to extracts is super important in the current meta, so maybe that makes it the value that I'm missing. But in my mind, I don't think spider foes are ever winning by just simply hanging on to points, and so I don't value it super highly. But that's also just the way I probably decide to play spider foes. So.
For sure. The other thing I did too that I'm not gonna say like super crazy is that I did bring Carnage, and I did run him against Aaron, which was kind of an interesting matchup because the way Aaron thought about Carnage, because he and the whole time he's like, okay, well it's Carnage, I gotta watch out, I gotta make sure this guy doesn't kill everyone. But at the same time, he had to dictate a lot of his actions into making sure that didn't happen, which kind of freed me up to do some other shit around the board, which helped out a lot. Especially since he played a big 8-threat character, and I was like, custom upgrades on Carnage against Dormammu. Let's roll them dice.
8 hit points is a lot of damage.
He got 3 extra. And doing extra dice and doing all
I'm
kinds
just saying
of shit.
the odds of any character one rounding
Crazy.
is
It's
not high. Yeah, you're talking about like a 6-threat character to have a reasonably good chance of one rounding him consistently.
Yeah.
And because of his healing mechanic, you can't ever guarantee that like passive damage will stick on.
Well, and you can't leave him on 1 either, right? Like if he's not activated yet and he's still got an HP left, that's basically the same as saying this Carnage probably has no damage on him. Because
Exactly.
Because at any point I could have walked over to Clea and been like, dead, full health. Let's paint the town red, move, more dice, start balling out of control. Which felt pretty good. I haven't used a lot of Carnage ever. I came into the game after Carnage's heyday.
Yeah. When he was a god for 3 months.
Yeah.
He was actual Carnage from the comics for 3 months.
The 1 hit point.
Jeremy legitimately almost quit the game over field dressing Carnage.
I would have too. That's insane. The horror story.
It was really dumb. It happened to him 2 tournaments in a row. Carnage dazed 3 people after he was dazed himself. It was just like, fuck this game.
I took care of this guy, but he's back already? That sucks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, the 1 HP was relevant. He left him on 1. It was like round 3. He had to take care of him, and that dictated priority for that round. And I was like, cool, you kill Carnage, I still got all my other guys running around. So, pretty neat. I didn't get to use his card. I brought Carnage Rules, which is a fun card.
Ooh, Carnage.
But
Carnage Rules is really good.
power on a guy who's already like...
Yeah.
The Carnage needs power to do stuff.
It's all about the pain train. The trick is you actually just never use statistically is what ends up happening. Like you do when it's available, but there's so many times you're like, I have the power I need. I just need to hit this guy for 1 damage, daze him, and everything's going to be fine.
Yeah, the other thing, and this is the first game I also tried out Rocket, which he was fine. I don't think he's better or worse than any other 2-threat at the moment. What was the...
You don't think he's better than any other 2-threat?
I mean, it's not like if in the like top whatever it is for 2-threats, however many there are. Like I bring him over Bob probably as like a generalist 2-threat, but like
I think he's more efficient than Bob.
Yeah. Bob's got his one big whammy, and he might get a second one before the game's over. But Rocket, I think.
How about this? Would you ever play Bullseye over Bob at this point? Or sorry, Bullseye over Rocket.
The only way I think I'd play Bullseye over Rocket is if I needed... I'd play... So, like, criminals, yeah, always, right? But I don't think there's any spot that Rocket probably doesn't outshine him on right now. As, like, Rocket does what Bullseye's old job was better than Bullseye does. Like, Bullseye can't sit in the back and ping stuff anymore. He has to be up in the mix. Like, he could probably run up and finish somebody off, maybe... But as a general, like, I need somebody to stand in the back and do damage, I think Rocket's probably better than him at that, though. Right?
Yeah, Rocket's clearly going to do more damage over time.
Better, more. The Spender is a little bit more interesting, too.
It's 7 dice with reverse push, and then versus Bullseye's just 5 dice
consistent
rapid fire.
Yeah.
The problem is it's so much harder for Bullseye to build power now. Because, range 3, he's not getting to attack very often.
Yeah.
And if he's having to walk off a point, he's generally hit and running back to it. And so you're not even generating enough power to use his I Never Miss. You're only net neutral on power if you have to hit and run every turn. And so he kind of just stands on a point versus contributing, and that's a big difference.
Yeah.
Considering that, rocket shooting 10 inches, bullseye shooting 6, and with the way the scenarios are placed, 6 inches is not very useful. And
Oh,
wherever
like-
he is standing, he's surely in threat range of everything else on the board if he's shooting at range 3.
What'd you say, Parker?
I was about to make a joke about 6 inches being really useful.
Yeah.
Yep.
No, it's the same, I swear. You won't even know a difference. The other thing I did not do was I did not bring Craven at all. Sorry, Craven. I did just notice this, and it's probably because I don't pay attention very often, but him and Mysterio have a fun little combo if you have infinite power. I didn't realize, for a long time, I think the part of the Craven skit that I've used the least, or at least I've used the least, is Corner the Beast. And I didn't realize Mysterio's hypnotic gas can trigger that. Cute little thing for anyone who's...
Also, the Sinister Traps triggers basically every response in Spider Foes. So you're like, oh, I triggered the thing, and you're like, cool, you trigger Sinister Traps, which triggers Trick or Treat, which triggers fucking whatever Mysterio's thing's called. Then also, if you have Rocket in there, it also triggers Booby Traps, and you're just like, fuck me. And then all that shit just starts chain exploding.
And it can also trigger Winter Soldiers, Killbox. Yeah, no, Aaron was not very pleased with how I had set up some stuff, and he's like, this fucking tricks and traps bullshit. And I was like, it's the list I brought. I'm sorry.
It works. It's surprisingly
It was
good.
a lot of fun, actually, because this is the first time seeing it in action. I was like, oh, okay. Making your opponent kind of have to do some gymnastics to get where he wants to be is actually a lot more valuable than I thought it would be. The other stupid thing I did, and I want to see if it's run it by Parker to see, he's the Donkey Brains expert.
He is the expert of Donkey Brains.
I have the most Donkey Brains, yes.
And it's just a general question. Is there a good spider foe target for Venomized besides, is there anyone? Because I think Zach and I have talked about Venomized before as well, being, it's a card that exists, and I think there's something there, but I don't know if anyone's using it to any great effect. Like, I hate saying, Venomized I-Hulk, but,
I think
first of all,
go ahead.
I just want to say that I think Venomized is massively overrated. I think a lot of people think it's an unbelievably powerful card, and I think that's
I don't think
wrong.
it's unbelievably powerful, but I think there's a strong niche that someone just isn't exploiting.
Completely. Well, I think there's definitely a bandwidth of characters it's very strong on.
Yeah, I wouldn't put it on... Personally, I wouldn't put it on an I-Hulk. I would put it on exactly the other two Hulks. So She-Hulk and Hulk 1 are both really good Venomized users. But those, I think, are the two that are like S tier Venomized. And the crazy thing is, everybody else in the game is like a C tier, I think. I think the distance between those two really strong characters and everybody else is incredible. So, is there somebody in Spider Foes that would like to have Venomized? The only one I can think of, because specifically he gains a lot of power and he doesn't have a spender, is Rhino. That.
I don't disagree with Rhino either,
Yeah.
because the only problem is Rhino spends his power pretty well, considering.
Exactly. He doesn't have a spender,
He
but
does
he
hit
other
a
stuff.
ceiling.
Yeah.
Yeah, eventually he will have too much, but he has tactics cards to circumvent that already, because he's got, robbery and all that.
But he does heal. And he does move, and so oftentimes you don't need the action that you are spending to put it on him. So I think a Venomized Rhino is probably in that C tier. That probably does work. It probably is not bad.
It's just hard for him to find 3 power in the first 2 rounds to play it.
Right.
Once you get on a roll, then it's probably really good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they're just
the
very few
character.
characters.
The character I never see it on, that I'm surprised I never see it on, is Juggernaut. He generates a shit ton of power. He rarely needs both his actions, and he loves healing. And he doesn't have a range 3 attack. He doesn't really have a spender, because his spender is not very good. He also adds 3 dice to the attack, so it's a 10 dice Weir Venom. He can get the power just by moving. You can never stop him from Weir Venoming. He's like, I walk, I spender, die.
There you go. I've never seen anybody do that, but that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, I think it's really good.
I have Josh painting me up a custom
I think
Venomized Juggernaut that I'm still waiting on.
I repeatedly say this, but I think Juggernaut is the biggest sleeper in the new mission pack. He's so good on so many of the maps. He's so fucking good, and nobody's playing him. And I keep wanting to build a list, but I'm like, then it's like, I'm going to play Horseman. It's like, well, there's no space for Juggernaut and Horseman. It's like, as much as I want to play him, he just doesn't go there.
He's one of the
so
only
like,
characters in the game I have never explored, but I've always really wanted to. I think I've put him on the field maybe once ever. But I think it's because I've always wanted to put him in Brotherhood, and he doesn't have to be. He likes to be so many other places. There's nothing about him that says only Brotherhood. It's just, he's really good anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think is it Deadline to Destruction? He's basically like,
he just is immune.
He just runs.
Yeah,
we also just can run to all of them, like in one round.
Yeah.
Well, but also he just can't take damage.
Yeah.
As long as he has one power to start, you're like, cool, I deal damage to you. It's like, oh, I'll prevent it and gain the power back because the power isn't dependent on damage.
Yep.
And you go, oh, shit. He's just immune to Deadline and can activate 3 of them in one turn. And you're like, oh, fuck.
Yeah.
Wait, say that again. How does that interaction work? What?
So the ability on Deadline Destruction says they suffer 1 power and gain 1 or suffer 1 damage and gain 1 power.
Oh, it doesn't say if you take
it's
damage.
not equal to like cubes is.
Right.
And so he spends a power to prevent the damage and then just gains the other power.
And he's big enough to actually turn on a whole bunch of them against opponents.
Right. And so he can just start running laps, and then if you get something like hammers, he can just pick up all the hammers and nobody can damage him, and so he just holds them. And it's like, oh fuck.
Well, I mean, people can just kill him, but yes.
Sure they can.
If he was
he's just Juggernaut.
Maybe if you venomize him with 4 hammers and live in magical fairyland where you're just like dead, healed, dead, healed, dead, healed.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's a character I wish I would play more as Juggernaut, because I've tried him out just randomly in like New Mutants because he's big and you can bring him with you. I had a recent TTS game, I believe I played a guy who's been playing a lot of New Mutants, and he brought Juggernaut and Clea. They said that combo was working pretty neatly. Juggernaut's always a character where I feel like he is in such a unique spot in the game too. No one does what Juggernaut does. They do weaker versions of it, right? Like, I think the closest is Rhino, probably, but I don't think Rhino still has the same...
Well, but Rhino doesn't... I guess he does have displacement, right?
Rhino has no displacement.
Only on robbery.
Oh, that's right. I keep thinking his attack pushes for some reason. But yeah, the whole concept was like, he has helmet, he is size 4, you just put him on a point, and his 8 dice attack pushes on a wild, which is super consistent. It's like, this is my point, and you're not going to kill me. And so he just holds a point by himself. And that point can be anywhere on the table, is the best part about him.
Yeah, so you're talking about playing him in other places. Where do you guys see Juggernaut having a good home at, besides, of course, in Brotherhood?
Well, in any list that can give him 1 extra power, he's a safe grabber, which is already a unique thing, right? Like, every safe grabber is already 5 points. And so he can just replace Angela in any list that can give him an extra power, or even a pseudo power most of the time, because he already gets it from Mystique, which is the discount power pickup. You can get it if you reduce power cost by 1. You can get it if you can hand out power. Like A-Force can do it, Avengers can do it, Inhumans can do it, Brotherhood can do it. Like, there's so many places you can get him to be a safe grabber. Is so great.
Yeah, I remember one.
And then in addition to that.
I remember one I heard about last year was someone using him with Professor X because he just needs 1 pass.
God damn it! You beat me to it. You beat me to it.
Every time you DR, it's like there's a power. Every time, like just
he's. I think he is. That's exactly what I was about to say. You beat me to it by 5 seconds. I was going to say I think he is. He might be. It's really funny, and I think it's wonderful. I don't know if they meant to do it, but if they did, it's awesome, perfectly in theme. That he's like
they're brothers.
Yeah, they're half brothers. Yeah, I love that they are. That they actually work really well together. He is one of the best characters for Charles's leadership. It's very, very strong. Anybody who spends 1 power is really good with him, but I think specifically they work well together because Juggernaut can project so far forward with the large base, and he's so mobile that he can basically be Charles's hands, right? So Xavier can be placed in a central location, and then Juggernaut can be wherever he needs to be, and every time he gets a big swing, Charles can mod his dice to make sure they're really good. And
he has to mod defense dice too, right?
I think you can.
Because Jugs really likes modded defense dice because he's so consistent on the DR already.
He can.
Yep.
I'm reading it now. Yeah, attacking or defending. So just not dodge, and not himself. So yeah, he can absolutely help him with the defense, and anybody who spends 1 power is Xavier's favorite thing because you're cycling that power all over the place so consistently. Yeah, it's
Jugs will also spend any amount of power you can give him. He can always find a use for power.
Yeah, I think
because he can just
the other place for him,
nothing stops, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he can just
keep doing nothing.
And he does the damage every time.
Right.
It just has to be different targets every time.
Right.
Easy enough.
Other places that that I want to play him in, or the other place I was really excited to do so was Guardians, actually, because he loves to make sure, like, he loves. Now he doesn't get the power specifically. This is a non-power generating safe grabbing option, but in Guardians has a bunch of really efficient turrets, and he is just the opposite of that, right? He's a Ouija board piece. Yeah. He's moving around all the time. Also, Guardians likes like premium attacks, like single premium attacks, and that's what his attack is every round. So,
you know what that made me think of? It's like if you could combine 2 things to make one other thing, like alchemy, right? What 2 things would you combine to make Juggernaut? And it's like Ouija board, Beyblade.
Yeah,
that's exactly Juggernaut.
Yeah, he is
Ouija board, Beyblade.
Yeah, Yeah, I think it. Less Beyblade, more just like a brick, but yeah, Ouija board. Yeah, he's absolutely just.
You say that till he hits you with fucking 10 dice fucking spenders.
Yeah, yeah. I need to dust him off and try him because he seems he is a lot of fun. But I think my 2 biggest choices are Guardians if I don't care about the power and early extract removal possibilities. Or X, because man, he is just so efficient with Professor X.
Well, the problem is you have 2 5-pointers already, and it's like by the time you get your affiliate guys in there, you're at 16 points.
Who's the other 5-pointer X?
Professor X.
Cable.
He's a 4.
Is Professor X
no,
not
he's a
5?
He's a 4.
No, he's a 4.
Oh, I thought he was a 5.
Yeah, they just got Cable's a 5, and I think
okay.
And Jean Grey. Sorry, 2 5s the next one.
Cable is the perpetual one that everybody thinks of to slap to him, but I actually don't like it as much, even though it is good to proactively get all the power chains going. Mm-hmm. You don't need more backline support when you're already paying 4 points for Xavier. Like, he's already doing the thing that Cable likes to do the most. I feel like it's a hat on a hat. Just get anybody, like, play fucking Ant-Man, and then you're sure to get the power chain rolling, and you're more efficient.
Sure.
But that's me.
The 2 that the only time I ever found success with Professor X was I was rolling Rogue and Wolverine as my 2 like go out there and touching people because they both have charges, and you set up whatever chain you need to get Wolverine's charge off turn 1, and you can set up Rogue's charge off turn. So like I'd have Magic go up, grab something, or Nightcrawler move, grab something, then hop back or hop over or do whatever. And then that kind of starts the power train of just sending Wolverine and Rogue to... Because, like, those 2 characters are... I feel like Rogue's still, surprisingly scary. I think if you don't have a good way of, like, dealing with a 4 threat that's throwing 4s on her spender...
Yeah, it's just if the board isn't conducive to her throws being effective...
You gotta find something else.
There's just a lot of there's a lot of little scatter terrain, and they can stay spread out, or there's just not a convenient place size 4 to throw with her. Then it's just kind of like you're really dependent on 4 dice attack dealing damage, 5 dice attack dealing damage, and that can just fail really easily. Mm-hmm. I've had games with her where it's like she's made like 7 attacks and it's dealt like 3 damage, and it's just like it's just you're right on the line of doing a lot and a little, and then she just turns to do like a 3-point slapper, and you're like, oh fuck.
Yeah.
And the other thing about Rogue and OG Wolverine is that I think both of them are just better with Cyclops. They're an example of 2 X-Men characters that they want to just attack twice, right? So if you're attacking twice, you're getting double the amount of power than that's with Cyclops' leadership. You're generating so much more. And
well, the difference being that Cyclops is trying to do more himself, and Professor X is trying to make the other people do more.
Right. So that's what I'm saying, that X is better with a lot of characters that can do passive things, like on opponents' turns.
Yeah.
Like anybody who can spend a power to reduce, or a power to gain defense dice, or a power to dodge blocks, dodge throws. Like there are a bunch of characters that can do, on your opponent turn abilities that are going to be much more consistent to give Professor X an edge over Cyclops. Because if anybody's spending power to do 2 attacks, then Cyclops is better, right? But for generating power, if you're taking Professor X because of his leadership, if you're taking Professor X because you want to play him or because you like his other stuff, then yeah. But if you're taking him because you like the leadership, you want to you're trying to get things that will use his leadership more often.
Yeah, that's
Does Gambit's new thing work on? Oh, it only works on attacking. Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, if that works on defending, that'd be cool. But
oh yeah, he'd be good.
Enhanced agility does work though, so that's not nothing.
I think I agree with you on the Cyclops thing. The only thing is, if you roll really bad dice like I do, then Professor X is a little bit more consistent as a leadership, because you're like, I can guarantee at least one power goes out. Because like, if I whiff on 2 attacks with Cyclops, then it's like I didn't have a leadership at all, right? Mm-hmm. That's the only thing I feel like might be different, is that with me I've had more success when it's.
Well,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, don't you have to deal damage with Cyclops?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you whiff onto it,
and so it's well, but you only get 1. Like, you're gonna move and attack once, right?
No, you get,
and so
it's every single time you.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about the first turn. You take 2 chargers and you just walk up with Cyclops and whiff, and you're like, all right, well, my whole turn 1 plan doesn't work now.
Yeah.
Like, fuck me.
And you can be outside of range on Cyclops too. It doesn't happen very often.
Yeah, like, what if they just have stealth?
Yeah.
Like, or they just don't move to the middle till late in the turn, because you have 3 models you have to activate after they move to the middle. Because you have to wait for them to go up, then you can deal the damage with Cyclops. Then one of your chargers can go. But if it's like, I'm just going to leave the middle alone, it's like, well, what do you do?
Turn 1, Professor X is much more reliable, yeah.
Right, and that's why I think people would make this, because the game is so short nowadays. You're basically playing a 3-turn game. Giving up the first round to have better late game doesn't matter, because you're giving up a third of the game for what might be a coin flip to even see turn 4 in a relative way. It's just like, that doesn't feel great.
Right.
Yeah. Like I said, that's kind of what I've noticed, especially since. And then the other thing I did too with Professor X is I also brought Hulk, just because Hulk make things go smashy when you can be like, move up, hop, okay, power back, okay, cool. Or I could feed Hulk power. Like that's the other thing too. I don't know. I played it in a team tournament last year with Professor X, and I had a pretty good time with just what was I was running, which was Hulk and Wolverine basically. And then what other pieces suited the needs. The only thing I hate about Professor X is Professor X. Like, I
hate everything about it for Professor X, though. Like, literally every single thing.
I love his leadership so much. I think it's my favorite X-Men leadership by far, and he's my least favorite X-Men 4 threat. Like, if they could have given that leadership to literally anybody else, I'd be so happy.
Not old men in wheelchairs.
Just, like, make him a tactic card or something. I don't care. Just...
Yeah.
Because, like, it's so weird. Like, I get... Like, this specific version of Professor X being in the game is weird to me. They could have done, like, any of the other times where he's, like, up and mobile. Like, give me, like, paramilitary suit Professor X or something. You know?
You don't want him power drifting all over with his,
no,
his
I
X-Men animated series?
I don't want either of those in. No, the second I lost faith in the game was when Professor X got spoiled. I was like,
that's
oh,
not the second
no.
you lost faith.
Yeah, I was I had hope until then. That was the moment I was like, all right, there's a ceiling. It's here. It can never be better than this.
That's bullshit.
They put fucking wheelchair man in the game.
That's a lot of bullshit.
With his medium move.
The crippled pacifist is now in the skirmish fighting game. Thank God. It was so stupid. And most people, most X-Men fans I talk to that play the game are all like, yeah, I don't think we should get Professor X. That'd be weird. And then he comes out and is like, ugh. And honestly, since he's released, I have seen almost nobody play X-Men. Like, they used to be so popular, now nobody plays them.
I've just got so much other stuff to play. That's the main problem I have with... I mean, I'm with Phoenix coming out, I think I'm going to pick X-Men back up for a while and just try that out.
Yeah. I'm sure some people will play it.
Oh, yeah. Like, Phoenix is cool. I know a lot of people who are X-Men-wise are pretty excited to play her. She's one of the, like... She's, like... Because she was spoiled in one of the old, like, leaks.
Mm-hmm.
2 summers ago, I think, and finally, I think that's the last person on it. Because, like, even Mephisto was on there.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, Mephisto. They're never going to add Mephisto into this game. Well.
I thought Mephisto was a pretty obvious ad, assuming they wanted to go to the supernatural side.
Yeah, and it's just Mephisto's another one where it's like I personally really like you could have stuck those rules on any character and like justified it, and I would have had fun time with the character. The fact it being the actual devil is also really neat, though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know I've been super vocal about not being happy with like the concept behind the current mission pack. I think it's way too scenario focused, and like it almost makes it to the point where the models in the game are not very important. The only thing that matters is which 2 missions got flipped over, and like how many models you brought seems like the only thing that's really important to the game right now. And I dislike that. I want my models to feel important to the game. But I think that's the only reason we don't see Mephisto all over the place, because he is so dynamic in those like middle central fights.
Oh yeah, like that's where he plays, man. That's like, especially like you bring him and a big like henchman basically with you. Like I really love playing him in Abomination. Like that's just such a super until Abomination gets like thrown for. You got to be careful with who you bring, but Abomination being like the associate, fantastic time.
Yeah.
Because you'd be like, oh, I displaced Abomination. I'd be like, well, don't attack Mephisto, because Mephisto's going to bring him right back. And then Poison Aura.
I don't know what it is. I think there's just 2 types of MCP players. There's like the normal average people, which play the game the way a lot of people normally see it played. And then there's Abomination fans. I don't understand them. They're just weird. Because they're not zero. It's not just you. I've seen other people there, like, they just put Abomination in every list. I'm like, what are you doing? And they do it and they love it. And I'm like, all right, I don't
So what it was is that I ran him under MODOK for, like, the second TTS League. And I was just... I was just fucking running people over with Abomination, dude. It was great. And now he's one, like... Before this, I couldn't give 2 fucks about Abomination. Like, whatever. He's evil Hulk, right? He's just 5-threat Hulk, whatever. But then I played him under MODOK, and I was like, my minigame every game was to use the fucking throw Abomination as somebody card.
The terrible card.
Well, and people were like, I can't have Abomination and MODOK standing next to each other. That's going to be a throw he's going to throw at me. And some people would care, and I wouldn't be able to lead it off. But the guy who didn't care about it, fantastic. I don't know.
The guy who didn't care.
Yeah, he's like, that's not gonna do anything, and then it's like smashed. Like this is like back at the start of the year now, and it was just like,
yeah.
He's like, oh, I'll just move up, and I was like, okay, well, I'll double move MODOK, and then at the end of MODOK's activation, I'll throw Abomination into the guy holding 2 extracts, and he's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then he killed MODOK after that, and I was like, MODOK accomplished his goal. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's just I really just gel with the playstyle that Abomination brings. It's the same thing with the Wrecking Crew. I know both of them are kind of they're just like characters, but for some reason that's been my favorite box of the last year. Has been those 2, and Apocalypse.
Can't forget about your boy.
Yeah, that was my big wish this year. I saw Apocalypse coming out, and it was a very expensive year for MCP models for me because they kept releasing shit I wanted and.
Yeah.
I think I need to play the
for the longest time, we bought everything. Because there was only like 35 models. We're like, oh man, 2 more models. This is amazing.
Yeah. I did the list on Jarvis. I think I'm up to my collection. I own 70 out of the 164 track boxes. 145 characters.
I imagine I have to be at like 120, like at least. Because I can't remember the first box I didn't buy, but it was after M'Baku was the first box I didn't buy. Or is it, so maybe Throne came out first. I didn't buy Throne. I didn't get the new X-Men. I didn't get the new Inhumans. But other than that, I think that's pretty much it. I'm sure there's a couple models in there that I'm forgetting. But I even bought Miss Marvel. I haven't even built her. I was like, fuck. I wanted to be complete at that point more than I wanted to own her. And so I bought her just to put her on the shelf. Because I hate the model. Yeah,
it's definitely, like, I'm glad she's in the game for eventually when they give us the Champions faction. But, I don't know. It's been, like I said, this last year, I think, it had some really cool boxes. And I don't know if this year's been worse, like meta shakeup wise, than last year. I have a hard time keeping it all straight because we've only gotten Inhumans.
Last year was pretty stagnant because it was basically CGR got nerfed. I want to say early mid part of the year, and it was just kind of like randomly waiting for stuff. after that.
I feel like
nothing really happened.
The back half of the year was, up the Apocalypse release, which was him, and then 4 mutants: Maverick, Weapon X, Archangel, Angel,
And
then,
Sunspot and Warlock was at the same time with New Mutants. Not that had an impact, but
that was kind of a wet fart release. Unfortunately, like 2 cool models.
Dude, you guys were so pumped.
It's because
you guys were. You guys were so.
I have a weak
Still
spot. It's
hurts me.
mutants.
Deep in my soul.
Yeah, I know.
Especially after Sunspot was so fucking cool in the X-Men TV show, and you're like, dude, I can't wait to have this guy just fly across the table and blow shit up. And it was like, he'll fly across the table and then blow up himself.
Yeah, I don't think he's a bad 4-pointer,
No, he's
but
fine.
he's definitely not like cutting edge.
So his main issue is that he's not an X-Men. I think if he was an X-Men, he'd see a lot more play because he'd be really good affiliated for an X-Men. The problem is the main reason he exists is for the New Mutants affiliation, and I think one of the designers is on record saying you will want to bring him every single game you play New Mutants, or we did our job wrong.
You mean you'll have to because they have
models? They have plenty of models. You never have to bring in your list. Looking at it, you could bring Sunspot, or you could bring Beta Ray Bill.
He's not a New Mutant though.
No, but you could also bring 3 threats and be affiliated.
That's true.
Yeah, every one of my New Mutants list is exactly Magic, X-23, Taskmaster. Those are my 3 best New Mutants, and that is my base. If you make me play another New Mutant, I will just toss the whole fucking table over, just because I'm not gonna.
Well, I think it's fair to replace Taskmaster with Sunspot if you're up a point. Like, that's fine.
I
if
think
you're not
Sunspot
utilizing the extra point on a different model, then who cares?
Sure, but I am. The rest of my list, I have 3 New Mutants models in my New Mutants list. Every other model is the other models that I'm going to use to fill up points, right?
and
so
win the game because the New Mutants roster doesn't have a game plan to win.
Hey, Magic's better now. Like, that helps. Like, your leader not being a victim.
Magic, X-23, and Taskmaster are not. They're 3 good models. Like, they're in the top. They're in the front of the curve. They are not behind the curve.
What?
And Taskmaster with the New Mutants leadership is actually great because you want him to be up in the middle of shit. Like, you don't want him to. Like, the way that you deal with him is by pushing him away or making him irrelevant in position. But he will fix that with New Mutants, so it feels good. The problem with it is then what are you going to do with, how are you going to make the rest of that, roster, useful, more useful, I guess, than anywhere else is the question, right? It's hard to do.
Mm-hmm.
You hit the nail on the head, Parker. That's the main reason I've had such a hard time trying to run New Mutants is that it's a great leadership. The tactic cards are awesome.
It's a cool leadership. I don't know if it's great.
It is a cool.
It's a cool leadership.
The mark of a good model is a model that doesn't need the leadership. Like, you're basically trying to prop up bad models and fill in their holes with a janky leadership, as opposed to taking models that are already good and applying a good leadership on top of it.
That's
Shut up.
My point is,
shut your whore mouth.
If you let's say you could do it whatever you wanted. You could take the New Mutants card and play it in like any faction, right? As like a generalist leadership. I think that almost literally every other faction with a better faction list would love seeing this leadership. The problem with New Mutants is definitely this is a cool leadership. Let's put this on the 3 weakest models we can think of.
They're definitely not the worst models.
No, they're not.
Like Parker was saying, they're fine.
Yeah.
The problem is there's 2 ways to win the game. One is through exceptional violence, and one is through scenario play. None of the models you have there are exceptionally violent except for X-20.
What if excessive violence was done to you, your leadership triggered? Sometimes, as long as the model gets to stay on the board.
Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. It doesn't do anything.
All that does is feed more of your models to the excessively violent
you're like,
person.
I'm gonna bring you
and the other
closer.
people don't attack you.
Yeah.
If you're trying to play a list, that's one of the weird
you
things.
are Zap Brain again.
Yeah.
It's the leadership you're playing.
Yeah.
I'm going to funnel all of my models into the death pit.
until they.
And once I get there,
Yes.
they'll have to stop attacking me because all my models will be dead.
Yeah, I feel like what's funny is that there are other lists that do that are like their game plan is run forward and stop within range 2 of your opponent. And those affiliations somehow work, like Defenders, like Daredevil Defenders. They do that really well because they play a lot of retaliatory models. So as they're dying,
Sure.
you're attacking them back, and you're doing premium versions of it because
But
you're triggering their leadership.
They also have a leadership and tactics cards. All
Yeah.
your leadership does is let you move forward.
Right.
It's like the other models just move forward and do stuff.
Right.
So there's actually one more. I did have another weird point to point out, and I just, like I said,
Okay.
I just played Zilthus in my last TTS game for this league. And he played the new.
Is that a model?
No, he played. It's the guy I played against, Zilthus.
Oh, it's a person. Okay.
And he played New Mutants in the
I've never heard that
No,
before.
you're good. I didn't remember. I thought it was really
I thought it was the new Zamor or something. I was like,
Yeah,
fuck
shit,
me.
who's this guy? I didn't even see the. Where's the transmission for this? No, he played New Mutants and he pointed something out pretty crazy. So let's say, when you're playing New Mutants and you bring somebody up like behind you or like around you, you can't actually, if there's no one with a range 3 attack in New Mutants, that's good. So you always have to place your characters within danger to get like the next, like you can't place them outside of range 2 to like attack back.
Yeah. You're implying that if they want to be aggressive immediately after, that you must place them closer to them than your leadership would normally allow.
Then you would like to have
You
magic.
could choose.
Yeah, because like magic, her good attacks range 2, X23 is range 2. There's
Taskmaster's range 2.
yeah,
X23 and Magic both have spenders that are range 3, right?
yes, but
Yeah.
they have to spend the power to move up.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
And you generally don't want attacks being shunted into like. I mean, you could. I don't know. It's such a. It's a. As of right now, I'd say it's the most discombobulated faction in the game.
The only models I see putting in that kind of leadership are models like Crimson Dynamo or just really, really solid bodyguard pieces that you just don't want to have in position, or you can't afford to have in position for some reason. It's the same problem with any other mechanic that is all about reactionary placement. It's up to your opponent, 1, and 2, why didn't you just put them in the right place the first time? And so the only reason that you need it is that you couldn't have gotten to those places on your own. And so it is a long place, which is really nice. But unless your whole list is made up of models that need to get way further up the board than they would normally be able to, like, what does it matter?
Right.
It's like if Crossbones was an elite piece in the game, you're like, I just can't get him to the opponent is my only problem. It's like, sure, this would be a great leadership.
I have a solution for you.
But like, yeah. Yeah, the models in the game already fix their own movement. Like if we take the top models in the game, they already, even if you took mobility out, like they're still good models on average, and they just don't need help. And so the fact that you've chosen to play a leadership that is entirely based around fighting, you have to win the fight, and you don't win the fight.
Yeah, no, you make a really good point, especially since it's not you fighting, it's you being fought against, and there's plenty of lists that are gonna be like, I'm never gonna let you teleport Juggernaut back up to hit me.
Yeah, it's just like the Asgard list we were talking about before. It's like they lose to both extremes. And so all they're going to do is gatekeep people that are below them in the list. I would put New Mutants pretty low on that list, but they're still gatekeepers.
Yeah.
It's like all they do is beat people below them in the totem pole. They're not beating the scary list. And so until they get something that allows them to beat the scary list, they're always going to be, A-Force adjacent, where it's like, unless you're just abusing the mechanics on some of their models, like it doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, and I still think, I don't know, there's a lot of, I think the new Crises have definitely like mixed up what's been, I mean, webs are good, but I think that it kind of, I kind of wish they'd kept a couple of E's, like at least added a new E that wasn't Researcher or Demons.
Yeah, I think Researcher was probably semi-abusable, but in my opinion, Researcher was required in the meta to prevent
stop
the
webs
extract stealers from just winning. Yeah. And so, like right now, if you just completely sell out for scenario pressure, be that through webs, criminals, whatever you want to do, if you just 100% sell out, I'm not going to fight you at all, I'm just going to score points. I don't know if there's more than 3 or 4 lists in the game that can even like beat you more than 40% of the time. And so, like, those lists are, like, either excessive violence, like, right, supreme violence, like the Red Skull 3 table you list kind of stuff. Or you're going to see lists that are just incredibly flexible that have specific tools to deal with those kinds of lists. And so, be it in criminals, you'll go up against somebody who has a lot of board displacement, or against webs, you have a lot of people that can reach out and touch the web players, or maybe have resistance to the board placement or resistance to the steals. or they have just enough fighting that they can turn the corner soon enough. But it's a really, really razor's edge place to be. And I would still put the scenario players at worst case scenario, like a 45% win rate against those people. Because it's just like sometimes you're just not going to get the dice you need. And I think we kind of see that like in the tournament percentages, like the scenario players, you might not win the tournament every time, obviously, but you're placing well. Because, you're playing one of the two win strategies to its truest conclusion. And anyone who's not doing that is at risk of facing someone in their own pool of strategy that's better than them, is the way I've been looking at the meta for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, I believe you're probably, I wouldn't even say probably, I feel like that's correct, right? I feel pretty confident in agreeing 100% with your feelings towards, I think scenario play is still probably top dog. I don't know if there's any attrition lists right now that even compete with it, with how Red Skull 3 has been changed. I think the ball might have been moved a bit, like the gaps might have been moved a bit closer, but I still think like the two factions I'd hate seeing the most right now are Webs and Kingpin affiliated or Kingpin led Crime Syndicate, just because it's a game that I don't want to play.
The thing about criminals, specifically with Kingpin, though, is it is kind of scripted. Like, neither of us are going to be surprised. We both, like, I either have the tools to beat you or I don't. And I kind of respect that kind of gut check, because I can at least play to my outs, as where, like, Webs, it's so demoralizing for me every time I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to put a premium attack into this random 3-pointer like Gwen. It's like, I did all this work to get into a position where I can just daze her, take her point, can, hold the secure, and this will be a big scenario swing. And you're just like, and you just fucking shit the bed. You're like, that one opportunity is like one of 5 I'm going to get that have a chance to turn this game around. And every one you miss just is like a dagger to the heart. It's like Kingpin. It's like, yeah, I always knew you were going to double move your guy over here. Like that's, it's so it's not, there's no emotional investment in it. And so it doesn't hurt me as bad when I lose to that. And it's like, hey, I chose not to bring board manipulation. Like, if I don't have the ability to move your models, like, that's kind of my fault. Like, that means I built a bad list to at least have a chance. Now, maybe I still lose, but I had the ability to interact with you.
Yeah, and that's always that's the thing. Like, if you're playing, like, 2 lists that don't swing heavily one way or the other, I think you don't notice that. But if you play Webs, It's like, oh, yeah, cool. My chance here is that your rerolls go badly and my attack roll does well. Well, that's...
Yeah.
And then if I don't do this, then it's just like, oh, feels bad, man. You should have thought about this earlier.
Yeah.
Your outs against Webs are so minuscule, and there's so many windows of opportunity you have to kind of flip the game over that if you miss them, the game's just gone.
I want to say when I was preparing for WTC, when I played Webs for like 8 months solid, it felt so unfair in so many of my games where I would just deploy, like, my opponent has no chance, and like, I don't know what the fuck we're supposed to do. And the only time anybody gave me any trouble more than like just random like one-off games where things went sideways was Aaron playing Avengers with Voodoo, and I believe it was pre-nerf Voodoo as well. And that was stupid because Voodoo would single-handedly win the game for him because he would just have so many bodyguards. All of my steals, except for Black Cat, were dependent on attacks.
Yeah.
And so he would just put like 2 bodyguards or sacrifice next to his Voodoo, and Voodoo would just possess Black Cat. And it was like, there's no way for me to win the extract battle because he'll just move the Voodoo token around after Black Cat activates and just take more of my extracts. There's nothing I can do about it. And then I can't get it back from him because I can never put an attack on him. I remember there was one turn, I think I put 14 targeted attacks into him, and I hit him, I think, twice. And neither of them dealt damage. And I was like, well, fuck.
Yeah.
Because there was just so many overlayered. Like, the first one that hit him did no damage. He fell back out of line of sight. And then he did so many bodyguards in a row. And then sacrificed a later one that was a steal attempt.
Huh.
But yeah, it was that. And the other list was Kenny playing CGR. And I swear to God, Kenny's dice are magic when he plays me. He would just liquidate, I think, so many. He tabled me in like 4 consecutive games. And I was like, the math on that is insane because nobody's killing my models but CGR.
Yeah.
Like, he's the only one attacking. And
it's basically like every attack is a one-shot.
He's one-shotting with every attack. It's like every attack he made one game daze somebody. I was like, what the fuck are you supposed to do? Like, he's like averaging 6 hits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Okay.
Oh.
No.
Yeah, I was going to say, I agree. I think we're right now, meta-wise, the top dogs bounce everything out below them, but that middle, I think the game's right now the best, and it feels the best in that middle ground where everyone's kind of playing.
Oh, yeah. If you just take the top off, I think the game is actually pretty enjoyable.
Oh, yeah, I like it.
But I think that's been true the whole time. Like, there's always these, like, really, what's the term I want to say here? Not degenerate, but like,
yeah.
because I don't think I would call any list we've seen post early erratas degenerate. Anything since the first major update, I would not call degenerate. Yeah. Original Thanos is degenerate, but that was a very short period of the game. I'd say abusive lists, maybe. Like, outside of those types of things, I really don't think the game is in a bad place. I think it's really just the top tier stuff that has not been adjusted basically forever. Like the Zemo, the Black Panther, the web stuff, Black Cat specifically. And when Black Cat did get adjusted, she objectively got better, which is fucking incredibly dumb. Voodoo did get noticeably worse. Unlike Black Cat, he actually did take a hit, but he's still very, very strong and probably needs more nerfing because that
his core mechanic is not.
It just shouldn't exist.
Yeah, it's just his mechanic, right?
Which it's just crazy to me that we've seen so many other models nuked from orbit, and it's just like, no, but Voodoo, we need Voodoo. Voodoo is so critical to the design of our game that we can't risk not having this mechanic in it. It's like, just change the fucking mechanic. Like, just give him fucking bow. Like, every
they
other
made a
model
better
with mind
they
control.
made a more fair version of the mechanic and stuck it on Squirrel Girl, and it's like, oh, okay, that's why you guys didn't want to actually change Voodoo's mechanic. If you made it fair, no one played the model, and no one plays it now.
Well, didn't they make her mechanic is basically the
it's
same,
exactly
isn't
the
it?
same minus the extract drop.
It's just what the effect is. Yeah. Yeah, but the way she uses is exactly the same. Yeah, I think that's fine. The problem is the effect. The fact that it makes you not hold extracts is the problem. Yeah. And it has a range. It's not an act. Like, just get rid of the scenario interaction and just make it do something else.
Yeah, that would have been fine.
It's like, yeah. Anyway, I guess final point I was going to ask you guys. I think I'm going to switch off of Horsemen. I don't dislike them at all. I just think the mechanics of the Horseman cards are very fun. The characters you have to play are not the characters I generally enjoy, and so I'm going to switch off of them to try and find something else. So I was going to ask you guys, what should I play next?
Steve Rogers, Captain America.
No.
Hey man, I was the first. You don't even know.
Every time
you didn't play Steve Rogers, Captain America.
Oh! I actually don't know.
Oh wait, are you talking about Steve Rogers, Captain America, or Steve Rogers?
I'm talking about Captain America,
too.
Numero Dos. Steve Rogers.
No, he's not an Avenger.
No, he's
a S.H.I.E.L.D. model.
Sure. No, I actually don't mind Steve too.
My first win against Aaron was with Steve 2, but I was playing the more Zemo bullshit. So Steve 2 is really good if he gets 2 offensive rerolls every time he attacks with a flurry. Who should you play?
You kind of just went through with foes, didn't you? Where you had Loki 2 in there. Was that a foes list or was that a different list?
That was foes. It was the Electrickery list.
Yeah.
It was Loki 2, Electro, and I'm forgetting who, and Goblin. Yeah, and Goblin were in every list. That was the core 3, which was like 12 or 13 points, I think. It's 13 points, which is a lot, right? Like, that's hard to squeeze in all the time. And then it was in ascending order of fillers was Rocket, Mysterio, Rhino was the 4th. No, there was another 4-pointer as well. Maybe it was Sandman. I think it was somebody else who had trappy stuff. Oh, it was Venom. Venom was in there for a while. I think I ended up taking him out, though. But it was basically just everything that could react to do stuff. Right. And also Venom being able to protect Loki was kind of cool. But I think I ended up going with different models later on. But the whole concept was, whatever they do, they're interacting with my stuff. Because if they did something as innocuous as like attack Electro, you're like, okay, cool. So you take a damage from Electro and shock, and you take a damage from Loki. And it's like, so I took 2 damage and shock for attacking you. So if you like shot me with a rapid fire gun, you could just die. And you're like, well, fuck that. So they just don't, right? And so instead they're like, well, and then you just overlap your auras. And it's like, well, I need to move here to get the extract or to go to this pay to flip. And like Mutant Madman was really fun as well, because then the mission was also trapping them. And the normal way that the setup is, they're actually pretty good at playing pay to flips as well because they have pretty good stat lines. Electro is also incredibly fast, but they just like, all right, I have to move to this pay to flip. They go to flip it, and it's like, cool. You hit tricks and traps, and you hit Mysterio's ability, and you're also going to trigger this other thing. I think there was one time Namor charged, which is the worst thing you can do against the list. Namor used his charge to come in against Electro because he needed to KO Electro to like have a good shot at winning, and he took 3 damage for landing because he took booby traps and tricks and traps and Mysterio's counterstrike, and then he hit Electro and took 2 damage back. So he took 5 damage on the charge.
Just for showing up.
And it was just like, this is Namor we're talking about. It's like, it was great. He's like, what are you supposed to do now? It's like, I guess I just move long away from your list. Like, it was great.
Don't ever come back.
Yeah, don't come back.
All right. My suggestion, Brandon, I think we talked about it already once. I think you should do the Defenders Strange Midnight Suns pivot.
Defender Strange. That's a runner-up right now. I'm currently in between that and the super aggressive list we built from a few weeks
Oh,
ago.
yeah! Okay.
Those are pretty much what's on the chopping block, and so I was going to just coin flip one of those unless you guys had a better idea.
No.
The other... Oh, my God, I was just looking at it. Oh, I gotta look at leaders on Jarvis because I can't remember everyone. Oh, this is gonna be the weird one. Have you played Mephisto's leadership yet?
No, and I
Okay,
won't.
well, there we go. See?
I like him too much in other places to bother with his leadership because I know what it does, and it's not something I'm interested in trying.
Yeah.
I don't dislike playing open leaderships, but if I'm gonna do open leaderships, I'd much rather play Dracula's, and I love playing them together.
Yeah, and I wouldn't say bring both leaderships because that's stupid. I don't think there's a scenario where one's better than the other. The only thing...
No, they're both equally shit.
The only thing I say with Mephisto is that, and Parker probably would appreciate this list, you bring nothing but strikebacks.
With Mephisto's leadership?
With Mephisto. You don't even have to do Mephisto's leadership. Just Mephisto with...
Just Mephisto in general, yeah. Well, I usually bring Dracula as my go-to swingback guy, but...
I've seen people running Dracula... Werewolf, Daredevil,
Werewolf, and Sabretooth.
No,
yeah, they're all great.
Is that actually? Can I search this up on? Yeah, I can. I can search it up on.
You should really try that Red Skull 1 list I was playing.
I did.
I think it was really good. Did you? Did you activate Mephisto 3 times in a row though?
I can't remember. I think
That's
I brought it on a Thursday
favorite.
night, and I think I had to play like 20. It was just like, oh well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
yeah. So we didn't really play it. I just kind of had a solitaire game that game.
Yeah. I watched my opponent count up points until he got to 16.
3 rounds he picked up and went home. It was great. So yeah, I think the Strange pivot would be the one I'd vote for wholeheartedly to see you run.
Okay.
Parker, I will be bringing Professor X, I think, tomorrow with
Whoa.
Juggernaut because that sounded really fucking cool.
Most of the time you guys have been commiserating, I have been building a Professor X list, trying to decide if it's not just worse than Cyclops. So I'm trying to figure out how to make it better. But I could also just say, like, just play Professor X and just try it. But I was like, is there some way to make it more consistent? And I found, so far, I have Professor X and 31 other models that I think work better with Professor X. But now it's just like, okay, then what do you do with it, right?
You're getting close.
Yeah. You have a Timelines roster now.
Yeah.
I think the problem with Juggernaut is a lot of people try and play him in like attrition-based lists, and he's really more of a scenario piece.
Yeah,
but he's a scenario piece that is inverted to the go wides that you see so often, which is why I think it's so interesting, because he's really about take and hold, right? He's like, I'm going to get this fucking point, and you're never going to get it back from me, which is why he kind of works with Kingpin, but Kingpin also wants to go wide. So it's hard to find a really good place for him, which is why like he was played in like Convocation for a long time, stuff like that. But yeah.
You don't think he's an attrition piece?
I don't. I think so it's different. When we say the word attrition, we mean like grind them to dust, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he is absolutely that. What attrition is commonly used for in MCP is excessive violence, right?
Yeah.
If you're playing attrition, you need to table your opponent, which means you need to start tabling them early enough to extend the game. which means
Right.
you need to be dazing people as quickly as possible. That is not what he does.
No, he doesn't do
He
that.
can make big splash plays and go in and like laser somebody down in the right situation. Like you combined, you know who I am, and his big hit and a free damage off the pit. Or he's like, once he gets injured, he can start throwing terrain as well. It's like he can get a lot of stuff done in those situations. But really, he's more of a control piece. He's just a 5-point control piece, which is something you usually can't afford.
Right.
So he needs to be in more like what I would say that you should probably look at is something more like Defenders, where it's like all of a sudden, you know, you play Daredevil, you give him a couple extra rerolls, and now you have 2 really tough, fairly mobile models that get a bunch of rerolls. You slide him into the right spot, do damage to a bunch of people, and then do like a 8 dice attack with a bunch of rerolls into somebody. I think that works really well.
I forgot that it even has a spender. I don't know if I've only seen a spender once or twice.
You just replace the wild push for wild slide, and it's not a gainer.
Yeah.
It's really, you only use it when you have a silly amount of power, or you absolutely have to kill somebody by any means necessary.
Right.
But that's what I was saying, like replacing that with Venomized is fine, because you're like, hey, I need to heal this 5 damage. You're like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, and nothing like being almost having a dead Juggernaut and turning him into a healthy Juggernaut.
Yeah.
I did not. I had never. I thought I explored all the different ways to buff Venomizes dice or mod him, but I'd forgotten that Unstoppable Momentum would work on that. I love it.
Yeah, because you see, when you're a giant, you know, snake ooze monster, what helps you? Go faster.
Speed.
It's kind of like an angry sludge thing, but
Well, it's interesting too because some of the models they released after, like Nova, when they get to boost dice, it references a specific attack.
Yeah.
And Juggernauts
they
is
learned their
like,
lesson.
they're like, you guys didn't really plan for just open-ended. Here's extra dice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Hulk is the other one, and then you can technically double Wild Wolverine with it for some reason. I don't know why you'd ever. For some reason,
Yeah.
Wolverine can use the beam on the book's extract.
Well, that was what originally kind of clued them in, is because the old Montesi, the Spellbound books, you could use all of your damage buffs on, and then that's why they had to change it towards you can't add extra dice, because Sabretooth would use No Mercy and do a 9 dice beam, and you're like, what the fuck? And you're like, Sabretooth, best wizard in the galaxy. You're like,
Sabretooth
fuck
read this book, and now he's a fucking A-list wizard. You gotta watch out.
Fucked up.
See, I know they did that in the game. I don't know why. Because when they said you can't do anything to those dice, they might as well have said these cards no longer have attacks printed on them.
That's
never
not
used
true.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is,
it's
I've
still
never
useful,
seen.
but it's
I
just
never
not
see people
abusable.
use them ever.
Before I was told it was a bad extract, my main plan was always have Wong grab one with
And then use
and then Wong has an attack now that isn't just him punching stuff.
People talk shit on Montesi. There are places to play it, but if you're playing scenario, that's not one of them.
I like Montesi just because it's slow.
That's the thing, is people talk about, it's like, well, just play Legacy Virus. Like, no, because no one's going to take my Montesi formula. It's way the fuck in the back, like, on Wong, and he's never going to be near anybody. So it's so much safer than if we do Legacy Virus, and I just randomly get one-shotted on turn 2. It's like, it's just not something you want to mess with.
I believe Montesi is Montesi's still legal, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the only
It
E
is-
that's legal.
It is the last E.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit of merit in that. I think if you're wanting to kill somebody,
The problem with Montesi is if you don't have priority, which is usually priority person is choosing blues, and so you're flipping reds if you don't have prio, which means it's more likely to come up when you don't have prio. And if they just have a first turn grabber, you just lose it. There's nothing you can do. There's no reprisal because there's only one central point to defend. And if they just pick it up and walk away, you're like, okay, well now I have no first turn plays. But like you said, it basically caps their extract scoring at 2 and allows you to play 100% for secure defense.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you were playing like a go wide Kingpin, you could be in a good spot to get ahead. The problem is because you're playing a lower scoring mission, you're going to see turn 4, probably turn 5. And that will mean that a lot of your Kingpin models are getting dazed. There's a lot of like back and forth theories about it. But yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's...
There are times when you're like, I'm just not going to pick up extracts. You're like, sure, play Montesi because fuck
Yeah. Oh no. And then even then,
Yeah.
people who would, I mean, and like I said, a a 6 dice beam 3 isn't nothing in some scenarios.
Yeah, it's still fine. And a lot of times, like, when your back model picks it up, it's like, cool, I have a beam. Like, there's so many times you'd love to have a beam and you just don't.
Yeah.
And it's meant to be like a little minor ability. It's not something you're supposed to, like, rely on, like hammers.
I guess that's the thing I think is strange, is compare that to a hammer, compare it to a, even one of the new ones, the one that gives you scientific hubris or whatever. Like, so many of those, like, really warp the game state in order when you pick them up, and that one is get an attack that's probably worse than yours. Like, cool ? Like, it's
the cool thing is because it's an E, like I said, you end up picking it up a lot of times with like 2-pointers, and so it does give 2-pointers a really good attack that they normally wouldn't have. It also gives you potentially multiple types of damage that you might not normally have.
I said probably, and but what I mean to that is the number of times your 2-pointer is going to hang around and attack with it is low. It's an odd moment because it's just a bunch of dice. It's not no dice. It's not terrible. It's just usually you'd be better off walking twice than attacking once. How many times have you told me, Parker, what are you doing? Why are you using the gun? Just fucking run. Like, because that's the point of the game, is not to die with the extract in your hand, but to just run away and never die with the extract in your hand. So that's the part that the reason why you never see any of those get fired is because it's always a bad choice. It was cool, I think, whenever Sabretooth picked one up and went, okay, cool. My model who's supposed to stand here and attack you will get better at doing that because I picked up the extract, like I would if I had a hammer. This is just a different way to get better. So I think it's weird that they took it away because they didn't make it impossible to use. They just functionally made it highly unlikely to ever use.
I think the fact that it's now mystic damage is pretty relevant as well. Like, there's a lot of martial artists running around.
That's the other thing too. You can technically
energy.
charge and use this attack.
I don't know why you are defending this. It's bad.
It's 100% not bad. There's a decent amount of characters in the game that can't roll 6 dice, like basically at all. Not to mention that can't roll 6 dice for free. Not to mention that can't roll 6 dice as a beam. Like, it is a good attack. Objectively, 0 cost, beam 3, 6 dice. How many models in the game even have that attack?
Yeah, if it was a printed attack on a 3-threat, you'd say it's the best attack for a 3-threat in the game.
Yeah, it's a really good attack.
No, it's not, because it gives you 0 power. It is a 6 dice beam spender. Because you're not spending any power to do it, but you're getting no power
0,
to do it.
Non-gainer.
Yeah. So that's why it's a bad choice, because you need your models to be gaining something for their actions, and in this case all they've done is stand still and make it easier to die with it and gained no power. The only way it's useful is if you have a very strange case in which multiple models are low enough that they could all be, or multiple models could be knocked down simultaneously. But even using the 6 dice to knock one model down is such a small percentage chance. So many things would have had to happen in the game before that's relevant. So unless there were cool things in the game like Zemo's buff, lets you reroll 1 dice, or you could, add dice to it with one of your cool powers that you get. There's so many ways that it could be useful, but I'm saying that it's absolutely not used because it's absolutely not useful.
So are you saying the mission isn't played because the secondary effect of the mission is bad?
No, I'm saying people don't.
You're
use
saying
the
that
book.
people don't, when they have a book, don't use
they
it.
don't. That's
the
what I
attack
mean.
is bad.
Yeah,
I disagree.
Parker's saying that the text on Montesi formula essentially says nothing. It's just pick up a book. Pick up a book.
This is 100% better than what you're saying it is, but it's not amazing. It's not game changing, but it shouldn't be. It should be a minor thing that can sometimes affect the game, which is, I think this is actually in a great spot.
Yeah, I'd say...
Like, I don't want... Like, what do you want to be? Helios laser? Like, we can't have the mission tokens be that impactful.
But they are. So many of them are. The point of the game is with Marvel Crisis Protocol.
The scientific hubris one dramatically affects how models play.
Yes, because one power could be a huge change in a course of a game. And it's not just a power on your turn, it's a power on every dice roll. So there's so many things that power over the course of a game can change. But your access to an extra dice of attack or a beam is so low impact, we never see people use that attack. The proof is in that pudding. It's what you've seen, evidence. I don't see people use that attack. When I see people use the attack, they lose because they did it. They should have used that action to move medium and not shoot. There's so many reasons why you shouldn't do it.
Okay, if people are choosing to make the attack despite logical reason and it's hurting them, obviously I agree with you. You shouldn't do it just because it's printed on the card. But if you're saying gaining a Mystic Beam 3/6 dice is a bad thing, that's objectively false.
I didn't say it was a bad thing. I said it was a non-thing. Right. Because
I'm saying it's not a non-thing. It is relevant to the game.
Okay, I disagree.
The fact that models that have no access to Mystic attacks can suddenly gain access to Mystic attacks is relevant on its own. Not to mention, it is a objectively good attack. It is better than most attacks 2 and 3 point models make on most games. Now, should you always use it? Absolutely not. You're correct. And is it a big deal? No, but it is relevant.
But I do agree, Brandon. I think that Montesi is fine. It's better than fine. I think it's one of the more balanced ones. Because it doesn't affect the game to where you're like, oh shit, I pulled Montesi. Because I think it's better for the game than Senators is.
Senators, again, is too impactful. It makes the game almost not work sometimes. I think Hammers is probably too impactful as well. The fact that you're game planning around not how many points you're going to score, but how many extra dice you're going to roll. I think that's too much. They try to make it cost more by making, obviously, the Tactics cards increase.
And then some of the best characters that use Hammers don't have any Tactics cards.
Yeah, there's a reason some models like Ghost Rider are just way better at that mission than other people. It's just because they interact with the mission tokens so strong.
Oh.
Alrighty. Anybody have anything else they want to talk about? Okay. Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Hopefully you enjoyed. This has been Brandon.
And Parker.
And Zach.
And CJ.
And you just listened to Ouija Board Beyblade.
So what are we going to call this thing?
I got it. Okay. Incredible, new, fantastic, astonishing, mighty, original, uncanny, sensational podcast.
I'm just going to put down infamous.